What's up, y'all? We are back. This is episode 18, I think, of the Miami Marlins Out of the Park Baseball 25 series. We're here right at the beginning of the offseason, 2029, and coming off a wild card loss to the Braves. I still think this team's in really good shape to compete next year. We're not losing any insanely important players. And we still have our core together. So the first move of the offseason I'm making is kind of there's a couple of reasons I'm doing this. So Hayden Birdsong, we picked him up, I think, really early in the save. We ate Robbie Ray's contract, got Kumar Rocker, and gave up nothing really just by eating the Ray contract. We got Birdsong for free. He was a guy I really liked. Wound up pitching pretty seldomly the first year, then moved in the starting rotation. It was about a league average starter the first 2 years, nothing really crazy at all. And then last year was just a complete disaster. The home runs were way up. I think he could still be a good arm. But my issue is he's due to make $4.2 million, and I think our rotation's kind of set without him. So we're going to package him Kameo Sasaki, who is a guy who played really well down the stretch for us and is a good hitter. But his defense was just so bad, and he's no speed, and he's 34, and this kind of just screams like I'm going to want to trade him next season at some point. I mean, in 27 games, he put up a negative 2.8 zone rating. First base, he wasn't much better. So, he's a DH, and I don't know. I want to give Luke Adams a real shot this season and see what he can do in full-time playing time. He's fragile now. That's interesting. I want to see what he can do. So, Suzuki's going to be on his way out. Ben Giovannetti, fourth-round pick back in 2027. I really liked him when we drafted him. His stuff has fallen off since, and he just has not been able to escape high A. He's put up nearly identical seasons back-to-back years. He's not a good defender. He's 24 now. I think it just kind of it might be done for Giovannetti. The toughest part of this deal, and I wanted to get a lot of cash in return because we're not up against it necessarily, but I always want to get more money in here. So Sergio Mendoza is a guy who's played in rookie ball for 3 seasons now. Hit a little bit last year when he brought him in. This year was really bad. He does have high work ethic, so maybe I'll actually look to not include him. We're also throwing in Corbin Dickerson, who's been he was a 9th round pick in 2025. Came in and played really well in 2027, drew a lot of trade interest. I held back on dealing him, and I probably should have. He didn't hit well in AAA this year, didn't hit particularly well in AA either. Just has a lot of speed, decent defense. So I'm curious if they'll take anyone besides. Mendoza is really highly valued. And I'll get to their side of the trade in just a second. Okay, so we can do something else. $2 million isn't worth giving him up. I think Andres Valor is still but he didn't hit at all this year in the majors. Didn't hit in AAA. Crushed it in AA, but he's 24. Has one option year left. I'll throw in Andres Valor. Okay, so this is a lot more stomachable. And so we're also picking up Benny Cavanaugh, a guy I really, really like. He was a 7th round pick in 2027. Has played well in all levels of the minors, mostly rookie ball and A ball. He's going to probably start the year in high A at least for me. Good defender, good enough defender to play a corner, and the bat can probably play in a corner, maybe more of a 4th outfielder, but has high work ethic. And then Jesus Mendoza, 19-year-old, second base prospect. Low work ethic, low intelligence, low leader, so garbage personality, but decent upside. We're not giving up. We are giving up a lot theoretically, but these guys don't really have a place on the team at the moment, so this gives us a lot of money to work with this offseason. So I think we do one of these deals every year where we kind of get rid of dead weight and people we don't need and pick up some flyers. So okay, yeah. Birdsong still has good value. And Suzuki's really highly valued as well. All right, so we're going to pull this trade off. Pick up $10 million cash. The fans don't like that we got rid of Suzuki. Whatever. And Luis Herrera's on his way too, so we want to make room for him. So and Nordo Watkins, another guy, looking really good. I think his power potential has actually ticked up a bit, and he's pretty similar to when we drafted him. The contact's not quite as high. Everything else looks just as good. And he's got great speed too. Luis Rosado's also coming soon. Yeah, so I don't mind giving up a 34-year-old guy who can't play defense at this point. So this is kind of how the team looks like coming into the year. We have Trey Sweeney still under contract for another year. He is due for pretty substantial ARB estimate, $4.4 million. After the year he just had, I'm going to give it to him. But then it gets a little sketchier when you talk about, like, not Ryan Noda, like Xavier Sejona, 1.3. I mean, he's a good player. I'll probably pick that up. Our Latruos, when we can let him go. Caden Wallace at 1.4. He didn't really do a ton. I kind of just picked him up to have a guy. I think we can do better for $1 million. We'll bring back Sweeney, bring back Barry, bring back Adams for kind of one more shot. Marco Ray, I think it's about time we can let him go. He's out of options. I would like to see if he has any value, though. He looks like he could be a good reliever. Yeah, he has no value. Just out of curiosity, what are people looking to dump right now? Dylan Cease is a guy who, for some reason, Arizona's looking to dump. Didn't have a terrible season. A couple brutal ones after he left us, but I think it's 12.9. I'm going to look into Dylan Cease, actually. And Hadley Rushman, we got him at, like, the perfect time. He had a great half season for us. Signed a actually not crazy deal. He's asking like $30-something million, and clearly no one is biting for a reason. They give him 4 years. What is that? $72 million. And he immediately fell off a cliff. Like this isn't new. He was still catching. Jeez. It's crazy how these guys fall off a cliff. He was still a good defensive catcher when we picked him up, and then he's gone to New York and been a nothing player, unfortunately. Manny Machado's still kicking it. Not a good defender at third anymore at age 37. The bat's definitely not there. Zach Gallen, we already talked about him earlier. Brady Singer's not a bad player. Michael King's grossly overpaid at this point. Although last year's a team option, which is a good thing for sure. Frambers, God, he's horrible. Zach Eflin's actually not the worst player in the world. Making a lot of money, though. Okay, so I was just curious who teams were looking to dump. So we're going to non-tender, I think, Ray, because he's out of options, and it didn't really work out for him last year when we called him up. Guess we'll bring all these guys back. Jose Butto's a little rich. Did move him to starter just to see what he looked like, but he'll probably stay as a reliever. 3.2 is a lot. I might look to deal him. No, Jordan Leisure, jeez. 3.4 for what exactly? He has about the same value as any other guy, so it's a lot. It's a lot for a guy who just had a pretty bad season. Low leader. How's our clubhouse looking these days? Yeah, we're also getting a new manager, Skip Schumacher. I like him, but we're going to go for something a little better. But the chemistry is good on the team. Definitely want to keep Jazz around, right? Yeah. Let's work on that right now. So that's a little rich. I mean, I'll give him an identical contract to the one he just got. The 3-year, 17. I'm okay with that. It's a lot, but he's a franchise guy. I love Jazz. And he's coming off a 6th season, his best one of his career, I'd say, in just 120 games. Although he has fallen under some injuries recently, but overall in the save, he's been healthy. Yeah, he came off. Yeah, this is the best year of his career, age 31. He'll be 32 when the year starts next year. Then we have to give Carson Williams an arbitration deal, which is gonna obviously hurt, but he's worth it. 18-8. Maybe we'll look at an extension if he's not looking for anything insane. I'm sure he is, though. Rafaela definitely deserves the 8.5. He's really important to what we do defensively. He still wants a long-term extension. I'm not going to give him that. Although his range did tick up to a 670 again, so it's something. Sonoja I still like, so we'll bring him back. 1.3. Trey Sweeney, we'll bring him back for $4 million. Last year under team control, he had a good season. Yeah, I think he played well at second base. And he wasn't great defensively. Jacob Berry, 7.3. That's a steal. He wants a long-term deal. Man, he's been so good, but is this a guy I really want to lock up? He has been a mainstay pretty much this entire save. The last 3 seasons, he's been awesome. Did get hurt. He's under control for another 2 years. Let's go year to year with him. All right, and then Luke Adams, 3.2. I guess we'll give him that. No, he really hasn't earned it. Mercedes, 4.8. Yikes. Open up the checkbooks for these guys. Holy crap, our bullpen is expensive. He's coming off a good year, though. I can't be too upset. I actually might wind up non-tendering Jordan Leisure. I can't have like the most expensive baseball or bullpen in baseball. I think Mize earned that 4.4 this year with how he finished the season. Even though he had a bad playoff start, he'll be my 5-starter coming into the year. And maybe I'll play around with these 3 and see what's going on. I think we'll bring back the Avila though at 2.4. I think Jose Butto is worth 3.2. Let's just give it to him. We're not like completely strapped for cash or anything where $3 million is going to kill us. Then Jordan Leisure. The FIP still looked okay. His BABIP was ridiculously high. He's bounced around a ton in the league. I don't think this is a guy who's worth $4 million or $3.4 million. We'll bring him back. Why not? It's just money, right? Okay, so I believe that takes care of everyone. Free agents. Patrick Bailey doesn't want anything crazy, but this isn't a guy that I'm necessarily dying to lock up after last season. He's a fan favorite, which sucks to let him go. But we have 2 guys coming up that I really trust. Matt Brash wants a ton of money. Fortunately, I have to let him go. Could we get a qualifying offer on him? 18.9. I bet he'd take this. don't think he'd take the QO, but I do not want to risk him actually taking it. I'll wait on that one. Jasby offered. I'll give him the QO just in case. Maldonado, a guy I'd love to lock up, but it's probably not going to happen. John McMillan, not a guy I'm looking to lock up, but is cheap. Did pitch well for us last year. This year he didn't actually finish that poorly. I like John McMillan. He's 31. I'll give him like a flyer deal, like $4 million over 1 year. What's a 3-year deal? About 2 and a team option with a $500,000 buyout. Okay, he wants 3 years. I'm not going with that. Put my foot down. So Jose Ramirez, so cheap. And a good season too, man. He was really good. But he's 37. All right, so we'll stop here. Update as the offseason continues to go on. Okay, so here at training time, and we have 8 guys going. Alexis Sedeta, we are sending to try to improve his stamina. It's only a 45. I like that to tick up a little bit. David Contreras, who was an international guy we got this past cycle. His power is lacking compared to everything else, so we're going to work on generating bat speed. Inordo Watkins, first-round pick 2 years ago. His power is an issue, so we're going to work on generating bat speed for him. Jesus Serrano, we signed him, last 2 years ago, but we got a bunch of guys. And his big issue is the avoid Ks. So we're going to try to tick that up a little bit. Luis Rosado, we're going to work on his plate discipline once again. He's like 0 for 4 at this point, but we'll see. Sam DeSource is going to work on his avoid Ks. Still like him if that was to work out. Jason DeCaro, going to try to improve his pitch arsenal. I just think he could be a total stud if he was to up this stuff a little bit. And then Jesus Flores, our first round 12th overall pick last year. I said I was going to try to improve his power, so we'll see if we can. He walked 24.4% of the time in 8-ball last year. Holy crap. Super excited for him. He could be our third baseman as soon as next season. Depending on how things work out for him, but he'll probably start the year in high A, move quickly to double A, I'd assume. And hopefully Inordo Watkins is up too. He didn't play too well in double A last year. He still put up two WAR, but that's mostly defensively driven, I'd imagine. Number 53 prospect in baseball. I think this is updated since, right? They put out a new one when the season ends. Is that accurate? Yes. Okay, so they did just put out a new one. So we have Herrera still at number 1 for the 4th straight season. He's finally almost here. Luis Rosado is number 6 in baseball, hopefully right behind him, and hopefully a similar development track. Alexis Sedena, number 34 in baseball. I think he should be higher than that, but he's approaching the majors as well. I just got to figure out double A at this point, but still have high hopes for him. Jesus Flores, our pick, 12th overall pick last year, number 43 in baseball. Inordo Watkins, 53, just talked about him. David Contreras, number 56, our international guy from last season. Chad Rogers slots into the top 100 at number 89. Got a taste in the majors last season. He'll come into this year as tentatively our starting catcher. And then Cavazos is our only other top 200 guy. So we're now 3rd after kind of a bunch of trades and some graduations and stuff. But a lot of these guys I still really like. So yeah, we're in good shape. So tentatively coming into the year, Luzardo will be back for his last year. We'll have Spiegel. So yeah, this is our 5. So and I like this 5 too. I think there's a lot of upside here. And we're fairly young outside of Mize and Luzardo, who aren't even that old, but there's kind of, I guess Mize isn't really past his prime. He's kind of hit his prime here, but Luzardo's probably past his prime, obviously. Spiegel, DeCaro, and Perez. And then the bullpen pretty much all coming back. Actually, that's not true at all. Maldonado will be gone, and Brash will be gone. So we'll have to fill those shoes somehow. Brash is going to be too expensive at this point. Then Jonathan Wilson, I don't know if he graduated prospect status, but he fell out of the top 20 in our system altogether. It was a rough run for him in the majors, but he's still young and still has some upside. But he'll come to the year probably as the backup. I like Rogers' defense a lot better. Okay, so that's that. I don't even remember why I checked in here. It was the development lab. We'll be back with the next update. Okay, so we made a few trades. I'll go over those in just a moment, but this is a roster clearing one. AJ Bluebaugh, who made a couple appearances last year in the majors, pitched well in AAA, but I need to clear some spots in the 40. So he's going to be a guy who's going to be shipped out here. Still really like him, but not a necessity at this point after some of the moves we made. Brendan Phillips, career minor leaguer probably. Noah Miller, a guy we signed to a minor league deal. Don't love doing that, but he was making the trade work, and I think it makes sense. Jack Finley, who pitched a third of an inning and was horrible for us last year, but had previously shown promise previous season and pitched well in AAA. He's also included in this deal. Another medic guy in the 40 that we're going to clear one spot net once we add Marchand. Hamlet Garcia, 24-year-old reliever, and Frank Zamora, who had a really good year in A-ball last season. So they see something in him probably. For Rafael Marchand, who is an excellent defender, provides enough with the bat where he's not a complete black hole. And the way I kind of see this working out is I'm going to have Wilson and Rogers fight for the starting job this season, and I want the other guy to get full-time at-bats in AAA, so I want like a good backup catcher up in the majors to dispel one of those two. So I did add Jesus Galez to the 40. In hindsight, I probably shouldn't have, but I wasn't sure how this offseason would play out. He's still a guy I'm going to keep on the 40-man, but we'll have 4 catchers on the 40. And Rafael Marchand, we'll pick him up and gain a spot on the 40-man roster, which I need. And he's a good leader, good work ethic, all good stuff for a backup catcher. So kind of a roster filling need. So I'll go to the other moves now. Our 40-man is full, and I don't think we have much more maneuverability for any more moves. But the offseason moves. So why don't I sign Logan Webb to a 1-year, $8 million deal with some incentives as well. He's coming off a missed season in 2029, was recovering from an injury. I tried to sign him at one point, but he wasn't really interested generally. So a guy I looked to pick up way back in the day. Then he was traded to Toronto for a bag of peanuts, if I remember correctly. Josh Hammond's not a nothing prospect, but he's certainly not as good as anyone I was offering. Got this 25-year-old and David Shields, who's kind of a nothing prospect. I guess he wound up signing last year. He signed at the Angel for $5.1 million, didn't even pitch. That's another issue that comes up in this game quite often, but he's fragile. But a guy who's going to, he'll probably get the 5th starter job. We'll move Mize to the bullpen again. I want to keep Luzardo in the rotation just for sentimentality reasons, and we're paying him $25 million. But Mize has shown that he can be that swing man on the team. Those two will fight it out for the 5th starter job. Webb obviously is the inside track because we just gave him a contract. So that's that, and then a couple other signings. Hunter Green, really low risk, $1.6 million deal. Still has excellent stuff. Just really hasn't worked as a starter in this save, but as a reliever, he's definitely shown some flashes, I think, with the high strikeout rate. The walk rate's not incredibly high, and I think that can even ticked down with some good catcher defense, and the home runs have been an issue for him over the years. So he'll come into the year as the closer tentatively. We'll see. And then we also signed Gavin Williams, former top prospect for the Cleveland team. Has pitched almost exclusively out of the bullpen the last 2 years and has shown good things. I think that walk rate again can tick down from last year. The home run rate probably shouldn't be that high, but it's not a huge issue at 1.2. It has some really good stuff. And then the rest of the bullpen, we added some guys to the 40. Carson Conrad, a former second-round pick. He was a two-way player when he first signed him. The hitting just wasn't coming along as well as the pitching. He's definitely a reliever with the stamina, but has some good upside. I didn't want to lose him in the Rule 5. He's well enough developed that I think he could maybe pitch on the team next year, more likely the year after. But again, I didn't want to lose him. So we added him to the 40. And then Jason Flores was already here, but a guy who can make an impact on the team. Pitched well in AAA when we called him up there. And then Ian Seymour, a guy assigned to a minor league deal last year. Pitched between AA and AAA last year and was really, really good. Has some good stuff. Work ethic, intelligence, leadership. Is a side armor, which is always concerning to me, but his splits aren't crazy. I mean, he's definitely better against lefties, but a guy that I want to have on the 40-man. We probably would have lost him in the Rule 5. We lost a handful of guys in the Rule 5 draft this year. We also went and added, Sebastian Norman, 22-year-old third baseman, former second-round pick in 2025. Crushed A-ball in high A last year. Again, just not a guy I wanted to lose. And I think he could definitely play in AA right now. And maybe can make an impact on the team next year. He has some big power. Everything else is suspect, but we'll see if he works out. We added Luis Herrera. He was Rule 5 eligible. And we know the story with him. We signed Dylan Carlson to a 1-year, $2.2 million deal to bring him back to Miami after a year between Cleveland and Baltimore. Not a good season for him, but I like his versatility. And we were kind of lacking a left side, or a weak side platoon guy against lefties, and he still crushes lefties. He did for us, or at least he hit pretty well against them. Also added Luis Cova to the 40-man, a guy who really has taken a long time to get going here. Split, was that 4 seasons between A and high A? And last year finally came alive in A-ball. Didn't hit quite as well in high A, but he provided enough that I didn't want to lose him in the Rule 5. So we added him. And we also added Christian Pache to the 40-man. Again, a guy who I think would have gotten taken, considering the other guys that got taken for us. We'll get to that in a second. But had a great season in AAA for us last year, and kind of provides the outfield defense, a good enough bat, some speed. So, him and Carlson will fight it out for that outfielder spot, that backup outfielder spot, along with Sonoja. I doubt Kova plays a role in that, but those guys will fight it out for that job. And then the pitching staff's about as you'd expect. Jorge Mercedes is still here. He's drawn a lot of interest in the offseason. I'm not really interested in trading him. He's come along well. Again, another guy who split a lot of time between the majors and minors, but last year in a full season in the major leagues, pitched really, really well for us. Probably our third best reliever after Maldonado and Matt Brash. So not a guy I want to lose at this point. And the year before he was solid too. And honestly, he's been good throughout his entire career. But he's 29 now, which, it doesn't feel like he's been around that long, but I wonder how many years of control does he have left? It can't be too much. Okay, he's 2 years after this. So he's still under team control. You see how open the books are long term? This is how I like to run my teams. Have maximum flexibility for the future. And we'll have the Luzardo contract coming off the books, but we're also losing Lewis and Williams. We might have to make a choice between those two. And again, we'll see what happens with all of that as the season goes on. I'm also considering just moving Royce Lewis to second. He wasn't good at third last year. And I think Trey Sweeney's probably a better third baseman, just in a vacuum. Didn't play well at second last year defensively, so I think if I just swap those two, I don't know. I like Royce Lewis at third, but maybe he's just better at second. And then Trey Sweeney can play third. And that kind of keeps the door open for Luis Herrera when he comes up. He can just slot right into third base, which I think is his best defensive position. Although he'd be a fantastic shortstop and second baseman as well. I picture him probably just coming in, being a super utility guy in the infield. But there's not much at-bats to be taken from Williams and Lewis, so it'd probably just be a third base job. Can he play outfield? He has the arm, but nothing else. So I would still play him maybe in right. We still have Wilman Diaz here. He'll probably come into the year as our backup infielder. And yeah, that's where we are here. I don't think there's much else to be done. We signed a bunch of minor league deals to guys just to fill out our roster. Some of them are still waiting. I guess Jordan Adams isn't going to sign, but we gave a contract to Eunendries Gomez, former Yankee farmhand. Yeah, hasn't pitched too well throughout his career, but I think he could show promise out of the pen. And then a couple other deals, and then we already signed a bunch of guys. These are only major league signings, but we kind of filled out our minor league teams with some guys that I like. Jordan Westberg, especially. A guy I've tried to trade for in the past. I really like him. He could probably play a good third base, second base, first base, of course, but leadership, work ethic, intelligence. A guy that could compete for a roster spot come opening day. We brought back Casey Schmidt after he spent a few years in indie ball. Played well there. I don't know. We'll see about him. Signed Lucas Giolito, just his starter depth down there. This guy was with the team last year, but played well in AAA. And we also have this guy, Yoneo Kawano, a guy we signed to a minor league free agent deal last year. And he's only 23, so I split him between AA and AAA last year. Definitely showed a lot of promise, a guy who can compete for a bullpen spot out of spring training. And then a bunch of other minor league deals. And we gave out, I should probably move these guys, Jonathan Clase, a bunch of speed, good defense, switch hitter. Chase DeLauder, who was a former first-round pick by Cleveland, I believe. Didn't do too much in his first taste of the majors. He has two options left, though, if we want to use him. Josh Herring, a guy who was with the team last year, didn't do too much in AAA, but hit well in AA, so I'm going to put him in AAA. Benny Montgomery, a guy who a lot of times seems to be good in OOTP, but not so much in the save. But I think he provides enough defense, enough speed, and the bat's not horrible. Esteury Ruiz, we know what he is. He's great speed, decent defense, and really nothing else. Bryson Stott, a guy who he tried to trade for a few times in the series. The asking price was too high. A couple underwhelming seasons for Texas, Boston. Pittsburgh season was okay, but we signed him to a minor league deal. Christian Arroyo, the guy who's played in the KBO, indie ball. Another guy that I've tried to sign throughout the years, but provides a bunch of different stuff theoretically for us. And then Rylan Bannon, another. He's an Orioles guy, right? He was an Orioles guy, and never really has gotten shot in the majors. He might not get a shot for us either, but a guy that I would like to have on the team. Miguel Bleis, Rockies legend from OOTP, 24. Another guy who still young, could show some promise. David Calabrese, he was on maybe my Nashville series last year and played well for a couple seasons. He's played in indie ball the last few years. Ryan Jeffers, another just backup catcher type. This guy was down in AAA and AA last year. So, just to fill out the roster, that's not really important, but yeah, that's where we are. So we'll keep moving forward. We can check in development. It hasn't been going well. Everyone's frustrated or struggling. Rosado ticked up to excelling, or whatever the next over frustrated is, the green one. He went up to that for a little bit, but overall it's been a disappointing development cycle. I put a lot of these guys as hard, so I was hoping at least maybe 2 hit, but it's not looking like that at this point. But anything could change within the next few months. So we'll come back with any updates and keep going on with the offseason. Okay, so we are done with international signings. We kind of went with the quantity over quality approach, although I don't think that's really saying much. This is the first guy we got, David Esquivel. Not a great defender or anything, but a good bat upside. 18 years old. We'll see with him. David Flores, gave him a little bit of money. I don't exactly remember the numbers, so this is $600K. Good defense. I could play some third base. Looks like he has a little bit of outfield ability as well. Not really, though. But good upside at 16 years old. Julio Pichardo. This was kind of our big one. $1.4 million for him. Huge power upside. Avoid K issues. Work ethic, intelligence, though, so I liked him. Only 16. Jorge Mannon. We gave him $200,000. Good all-around player. Juan Vigil. First base prospect with a good bat upside. We gave him $250,000. Santiago Villamil. Probably a second baseman long term, but good upside at the bat. We gave him $600,000. Luis Camacho. Good defense, decent bat. We gave him $250,000. Jorge Pisano. Again, really good glove, decent upside at the bat. We gave him $1 million. And Juan Arce, who was probably the best player that we picked up. Overall, good bat profile. At 16 years old, he's pretty well developed. Does lack defense, but he's a leader. We gave him $600,000. So we spread the money around this year, and I believe that was everyone that we offered. Yeah, we have like $200,000 left, so I guess I can sift through and see if there's anyone that I really like for that price. This guy's not bad if we want to go that route. All right, let's go with this guy. We'll give him $200,000. We'll give him the rest of our money and see what he says. Manual print. Okay, yeah, this was a minor league deal that we handed out. Josh Lowe on the move. Also, we can go through some of the big signings this offseason. Oh, I think our total expenses went way up. I think we were at like $190 last year. I'd like to see if that's true. Scout Discovery, he's not bad. And there we go. We got Sergio Gordillo. Big upside, big guy. Maybe he can develop. We'll see. Also, one thing that I realized after I kind of logged off for the day yesterday was I never went over our drafts kind of history. So let's go through that right now. We'll go year by year. So first pick that we had in this series was the 16th overall, Duncan Marston. And he really just hasn't worked out. His scouting has fallen way off since we drafted him. We drafted him as a starter, now he's a reliever. So none of like the stuff really matters. But yeah, he has ticked up in velocity, and maybe he can still be a reliever long term, but this pick hasn't worked out. He's fragile now. So yeah, that's that. Conrad Casey, we talked about him a little bit. We drafted him as a two-way guy. He's just become a reliever at this point. A guy who could still work out as a reliever. Jason Flores is on the 40. And looks like he could be a decent reliever as well, but not the starter that we thought we were getting. Matt Ayer was on the 40-man for a few years, never made an appearance in the majors, and really hasn't pitched too well in the minors, but has been fine. He was our third-round pick that season. Then we have Rodney Green, who we drafted. He's up in the majors. Had a decent enough rookie season. Wasn't great, though. Really fell off toward the end, but a good defender. Still room for him to be a player for us. Tyler Baird, he's still with the team in Double-A at 23 years old, pitched well. Demarion Terrell, a guy who I had really high hopes for with the defense, the speed, and the bat. The bat has not come along. He's stuck in high A at 23 years old. And then I'm just going to go through and kind of see Sam Erickson's with Colorado now. I'm not sure what trade that was. That was Chris Bryant. Okay. So he's with Colorado. Dominic Fritton's up with the team. He's played a pretty big role the last 2 seasons. Pitched quite a few innings, like 84 and 2/3 innings the last 2 years. Fifth minus at exactly league average. ERA 134 between the 2 years. A decent reliever, and he has one more option year. Nate George, I still have hope for long term. Has great defense, good speed. Just has not really been able to hit. He's fragile now. He's in high A. I'm hoping he can push to Double-A this year. Pierce George, I thought might have a chance, but he hasn't worked out. And then just looking at the rest of the guys, I don't think there's much else here to report. Corey Collins, I guess, is a decent player for an independent ball team. So we'll go to the next year. Devin Taylor, who was, I think, the first overall pick in this draft. 4th overall pick. He's with the A's now. That was in a trade for Adley Rutschman way back in the day. Well, not too long ago, a couple of years back. We didn't really give up too much in this deal. Yeah, it looks like a lot of these guys aren't even with the team. But Devin Taylor went to the A's in a deal for Cole Franklin. Looks like a decent arm. They also gave up Brooks Brannon in that deal. But yeah, a guy who just, I wasn't stoked about the pick when we made it. There just wasn't a lot in this draft. But he put up 5.3 WAR in high A as a 25-year-old last year. So that didn't work out. Sebastian Norman's on the 40-man. He was our 2nd-round pick that year. We talked a little bit about him. Eli Pitts, a guy who's now with Minnesota. We traded him in the deal for Royce Lewis. Braxton Garrett, unfortunately, also went down with a torn UCL. I was looking at the trade block, and he was on there. Really unfortunate, but he did get his walks way down. So he had a good season for Minnesota. Christian Lim also was in this deal. He didn't pitch well for them. Jared Purify and Tristan Beck. So that's Eli Pitts. He's now with Minnesota. But we got good value for him. Alton Davis. He's on the 40-man. Pitched a few games for us last year. Still have high hopes for him as a reliever type. But a 4th-round pick, you're throwing darts at that point. Tyler Baird, we talked about him a little bit. Dalton Bargo, a guy that I'm intrigued enough about. Has just crushed AAA this season and crushed AA the season prior. A guy that I would like to give a shot to in the majors, but he was a catcher who didn't have much defense. He'll have to really prove himself at the bat. Then Nate Snead, a 7th-round pick this season. It looks like he could work out as a reliever. We'll see in the long term, but it wasn't a horrible pick. Austin Killingworth, still with the organization, but down in A-ball still. Hasn't hit much, but didn't have a bad year as a 22-year-old. Corbin Dickerson, we traded him this offseason in the Hayden Birdsong deal. And we've talked a little about him in this series. Brendan Phillips is no longer with the team. Jared Sable's still in the org down in A-ball. A lot of these guys are actually still with us, but there's no one really sticking out here of guys that I recognize. So we'll go to 2026. Jason DeCaro was a huge hit thus far, and his rookie year was great. Brett Sonneborn, still a guy I have high hopes for. He was a supplemental pick this year. Hit well enough in high A. I called him up to AA. Didn't do much there, but still a guy who could maybe be a second baseman long term or a super utility guy in the infield. Ethan Wheeler, a guy I still have hopes for. His velocity has ticked up. He still has the stamina. The control potential even has ticked up, I think. Just kidding. That was OSA. So yeah, the control still might be an issue, but it could be a reliever. Pitched well in high A last year. Probably will start the year in double A. Christian Lim, we just talked about him. Drew Lafferty was a guy I thought could be a high floor guy, and he has been exactly that. Pitched in AAA the last few years. It was pretty good last year. Anthony Murphy, a guy I'm still intrigued about. He's in high A, 22 years old. Hit well in A-ball. Really, really well in A-ball. Called him up to high A. Hit decently well there. Still intrigued with him. Colton Hartman hasn't worked out. He's still with the org, but the control never really made it to everything else with him. Jaden Collinborn, still a good defensive catcher, a good guy to have in the organization. Dan Peacher was a reliever. We took him the 7th round. He made it up to double A last year. Didn't pitch particularly well there. We'll see with him long term. He's only 21. Where are we? TJ Remnick. Remnick, another reliever here. A lot of these guys are relievers. Jack DTN, a guy I'm excited for. Throws hard, has a lot of stuff. I think he can play up in a bullpen role. But I still have him starting for now. We'll maybe assess that. If he gets promoted to AAA, he'll probably just be a reliever at that point. Didn't pitch really well in AA. AJ Dial, we wound up dealing at the deadline last year for Sasaki. We have Chris Gillum and Emmanuel Rodriguez, who, if you're curious, did not get back on track. Actually was way, way worse for Philly last year. Still think he could be a decent player, but just last year was a disaster. Greg Palmer, a guy I really like. We took him in the 11th round. He made it up to high A last year, 21 years old. I think he could be a long-term piece for us in some capacity. Islay Egan, a guy who pitched in A-ball, tore his UCL last season, 2 starts into the year. He still looks like a decent arm. Penn Edelman, a guy that I keep holding out hope for, but hasn't gotten a ton of opportunity last season. I think maybe, did he get hurt? Nope, he just didn't play. So I would like to see if he can get a path to playing time this year, but we just have so many outfielders in the system. Brexton Hoskins, a reliever with high upside, with all the stuff and everything, but the control and movement needs to catch up. Pitched well in A-ball last year. Danny Evanson, kind of the same story with him. Dan Rogan, a guy who continues to intrigue me, but I don't think the eye power, gap power, he's just going to be a singles machine, doesn't play good defense. What do they call that? Organizational filler type guy. And then Joe Nelson and Matt Galaney both got dealt in the same deal last season. And then we'll go to the 2028 draft. Inorda Watkins is looking like a good pick, although it didn't hit much in AA last year. We sent him to the lab this offseason. We'll see if that works out. Ted Hart, a guy who's played 2 seasons in rookie ball so far. Last year wasn't too good, but still his ratings haven't really dropped off too much. So he's 20 years old. I hope I can push him up to A-ball next year. I'll probably start him there. Sean Witherspoon, kind of same story with him. Hasn't produced too much in rookie ball, but a guy who could start the year in A. Chad Rogers, he's on the 40-man. That was a huge hit. Hansel Moore, still holding out hope for him. He's 20 now. In rookie ball, had a good season last year, so he'll start the year in A. Let me just do that now. I believe we sent him to the lab and his control ticked up because that's really fallen behind everything else. Devon Coverson played well enough in rookie ball last year. He'll probably repeat that level again to start, or maybe I'll push him to A. Joey Breen, a guy I'm excited for as a long-term potential starter in this rotation. Pitched well in high A last year and A, so probably start the year in AA. I haven't gone turned down any of that yet. Luis Garza, another guy I really like, crushed pretty much every level in the minors so far. I'm going to push him up to AA to start the year next year. We got Toby Delk, another high upside arm, pitched well in 7 starts in A-ball last year. Analdo Murphy, a guy who still looks like a promising player. Hit well in A ball, called him up to high A. Hit fine. He'll repeat that level to start the year, most likely. Terrell Stoll, still a young guy in the 9th round. Phil Vogel hasn't developed enough at age 20 to really make any decision on him yet. Good defensive catcher here. Then we took a bunch of relievers. Alexis Cosio. And then I don't see anyone else that really sticks out to me. This guy looks pretty good. Tyrese Flash is actually a guy who's made it up to high A. He hit well in A-ball, really, really well. Had a 3.7 WAR season in 83 games. Called him up to high A. Looks like he didn't get a ton of playing time. And then last year, too early to tell, but we got Jesus Flores, who crushed A-ball last year. He'll start the year in high A. He's already up there. We'll see. We'll see what happens with him and the rest of the guys. So that's the draft kind of. I think we've had a pretty good hit rate. A lot of the high school guys don't work out, but our college guys that we drafted early seem to have, outside of Devin Taylor, have been pretty good. I do need to set my development budget. I dropped it down a lot. I was making a very short push at Jackson Holiday. He wound up going to sign with Philadelphia. We can go through some of the big deals, at least ones that matter to us. Jackson Holiday went on an 8-year, $33.5 million deal to Philly. Nicola Dolo signed a big deal. Brian Bayo signed a big deal. Sean Murphy, a decently sized contract, but only 3 years. Jung-Hoo Lee was a guy I was looking at, but he wound up getting 2 years, about $27 million. Shane McClanahan, another guy I was looking at, got 5 years. A good contract overall. Randy Rosarino was grossly overpaid, though, after an excellent season last year, in my opinion. He can't play the field. And then Patrick Bailey wound up signing a pretty affordable deal, 4 years, $8 million per year with the Dodgers. Coming off a disappointing offensive season, but I still like him as a player overall, and I hope he does good things for the Dodgers. I would have brought him back for that price, but we have 2 guys on the way that are going to be way cheaper. Maybe provide a little bit more. A lot of these relievers got paid. David Molina got the bag. Had a good season last year, but he's fragile. One of these auto-generated guys when Jacksonville came into the league, and looks like he re-signed with Jacksonville after getting traded at the deadline. He got the bag, though. Looking out for any big deals. This guy, I scouted him. It would be a sick player, but he got a ton of money. We're not in a position to really make any huge contracts. We could, theoretically, and if it was Jackson Holiday, who is an otherworldly player, I would have done it, but he was just making too much. So that's the offseason so far. I'm going to cut out, come back maybe around spring training. We'll see what's going on then. All right, so we're a few games into spring here. I want to go over the development. It was pretty. It was better than I expected after the horrible start we had. So, Sedana, no improvement. Contreras, no improvement. But Bernardo Watkins, outstanding improvement in his home run power. So he went from 35-45 to 40-50. So he'll get a shot. I'm playing him a bunch in spring. We'll see if he can maybe crack the opening day roster. I doubt it. Toronto, no improvement. He was the guy we're looking to improve his avoid Ks. Luis Rosado, no improvement yet again. But the same with the sources. Improved his 2-strike approach. He's now, looking like a Rodney Green clone, essentially, at the plate. At least potentially. He's 24 at this point. It didn't play well at AA, but he's going to get some at-bats here in spring and see what he can do. And then DeCaro did not improve his pitch arsenal. And then Jesus Flores, poor job. His power went down. I think he was, let me see. Yeah, he was a 40 potentially, went down to a 35. Not great, but the rest of everything looks good. We'll try it again next offseason and see if we can improve it a little bit more. But yeah, Luis Herrera has ticked up a ton. He's getting he's getting a shot here in spring to see if he can make the opening day roster. I do want to do some service time manipulation. So we'll see. He'd have to really blow my socks off in spring to make the roster, but he's looking excellent. Really excited. Luis Rosado was up for a little bit, but I sent him back down to high A. He's no longer in camp. Alexis Sedina, his stuff ticked down a little bit, but overall he still looks like a good pitcher. So we're going to keep moving forward in spring. We'll come back probably opening day. All right, so we made it through the offseason and are on to opening day. Unfortunately, Logan Webb went down with a torn flexor tendon during spring. Pretty much $8 million down the drain. He'll miss the entire season. So, that is what it is. You can't really bank on that when you sign a guy. But, there was warning signs. He missed all of last season. Going to miss all of this season. Really unfortunate for his career. But we will move on with kind of the rotation that we anticipated before. It'll be Perez, DeCaro, Spiegel, Luzardo, and Casey Mize. In the bullpen, you have Hunter Green, Jorge Mercedes, and Gavin Williams, kind of our high leverage guys. Then Dominic Fritton, Joe Boyle coming back after a few seasons in San Antonio to mixed results. Last year pitched in AAA for us, was excellent, had a great spring, so he's going to make the team out of spring. Jose Butto, Luis De Avila, and Jordan Leisure will round out the bullpen. 13-man pitching staff. As for the hitters, it'll be Chad Rogers. Had a good enough spring. He had a bunch of home runs. So, and his defense is a little bit better than Jonathan Wilson. So, he's going to be our opening day catcher. Rafael Marchand will back up, as we kind of discussed in the offseason preview. He had a decent spring as well. And then at first base, we'll have Luke Adams. He's going to take over for first from Jacob Berry. Berry will move to DH, at least to start the season. We'll see how that turns out. Adams is just a better defender than Berry will be at DH, as we discussed. Royce Lewis played a lot of second base during spring, so he will be our starting second baseman coming into the year, not third base. Trey Sweeney will be at third against righties. Jordan Westberg makes the team out of spring. He had a decent enough run. He's a captain. I like him. So he will be our weak side platoon guy at third with Sweeney. Carson Williams at short. And then the outfield's kind of a grab bag. Jazz will be in right for a majority of the time. His range dropped a little bit, but he's still a good player. Rodney Green will be playing a lot of center. And then Sinoja is technically our starting left fielder, but Carlson's going to mix in a ton, especially against lefties. And then Rafael is going to play the super utility role once again, backing up a ton of positions, mixing in left and center primarily. That's kind of how the team looks coming into spring. Luis Herrera is pretty good during spring, but it wasn't great enough to put him on the opening day roster. So far, he's made me look like an idiot in AAA. 2 games, 4 hits. And then Eduardo Watkins also had a really good spring, 947 OPS. He's down in AAA. Again, these guys could easily be up within the next month if things go a certain way. Jonathan Wilson did not have a good spring, so he'll start the year in AAA. A guy who can definitely be up sooner rather than later. Is there anything else really too shocking? Not really. Luis Cova had a nice spring. That's actually not true. He had a rough spring. But he's kind of coming to his own as a prospect. Alexis Sedana is down in AA. The Sources definitely struggled during spring, but he's basically a right-handed Rodney Green. It'd be a cool platoon one day if everything works out. Jesus Flores played pretty well in spring, despite the power going down. He'll start the year in high A, could move really quickly this year. Luis Rosado also started in AAA. His batting ratings have slowly fallen off, but still number 17 in baseball, prospect-wise. Then in A-ball, Ted Hart, a supplemental first-round pick 2 years ago, sorry. He's going to start the year in A-ball, kind of pushing him a little bit. Mike Stahl, I'm really hoping he can come through and potentially be a player for us, but he didn't have a great year in A-ball. He'll repeat that level this year. And then that's pretty much all like the big guys. I didn't go through the pitching, so I'm going to go set up my pitching minor leagues, and we'll come back for opening day. Okay, let's hop into opening day. We'll have Yuri Perez against J.P. Sears in Game 1. In Game 2, it'll be Jason DeCaro against Christian Mena. And Game 3, Eric Spiegel against Adam Macko. Coming off a couple of good seasons in a row. So, Game 1 of the season. Let's jump into it. Before we do that, we are third in minor league systems. A lot of top-end talent. Super excited. So, Game 1, Yuri Perez. Yikes. 13-5 loss. Perez gets absolutely dominated. And Jose Butto, same story. So, not a great start to the year. But Game 2, Dylan Lesko now on the mound. Yeah, that's what I expected of a two-starter. Against Jason DeCaro, a couple of young arms. And we will... This happens every year, but 5-3 victory. Rodney Green has a big day, 4 RBIs. He had 2 homers that game. That's excellent. Jason DeCaro, solid start. Leisure and Green close it out. So looking for the series win, Eric Spiegel against Christian Mena. And we lose 4-3. Spiegel, not a great start. Joe Boyle, really good in relief, though. Trey Sweeney drives in a few. Barry also drove in 1. But, series lost to begin the season, but long season to go. Luis Herrera's killing it in AAA. Get a scouting report on these two guys, because we could need them sooner rather than later. So we'll want to know what they're looking like. So that'll be it. Thank you very much for watching the offseason. We'll be back next time with a check-in, a couple months in. We'll see you then. Bye.